we doing? We're about ready to start lesson 16. And this week I got a couple of things to show you. I'll put them up here first. Last week I showed you this, but I'm going to just put it up so you can see where we're at again this week. So get this up to you here. Okay. Well, good afternoon, and it's raining here, so hopefully it's a nice day where you are, and if not, you're getting a little wet, getting a little water. Okay, now, where we've learned the key of C, and we've learned all the progression as we'll start with the key of C, and I'm just going to refresh you real quick. And so, remember, we're coming up to find the key of C. We go to the C. Then we go up to the third of the chord. Then we go up 1.5 steps to the fifth. Okay? And with the key of C, it was easy. We just progressed right up this way. This is the first of the chord, which is, of course, C. This is the second position, which is D minor. Third position, which is E minor. F, G, A minor. This is B diminished, and then C. And that's everything that's in the key of C. So you can play all those chords in the key of C. Okay. Now, with the chord progression I have here that I just showed you, what I just showed you was the first line here. Okay? So to keep it simple, I kept it to show you the simplicity of it. That is how we've been going so far. And I'm going to continue that simplicity, but we're going to move up to either a C sharp or a D flat. Almost everybody in the industry writes with D flat. Very, very few people write in C sharp, because same thing. So for some reason, D flat, the flats are easier because they're always going down. Okay, so we're going to go from the C chord, and we're going to progress now to the next key, which is the key of D flat. So this was C chord, this is D flat. And as I was showing you last week, I'll progress up through them. I'll show you here. I'm sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see it here. So we've got the G flat. This is E minor. I'm going to put this up here. Maybe you can see it up here. I don't know if you can or not. Anyway, you can refer back to this chart later. So we have D flat, we have E flat minor. We're going up, remember, we're moving one step. We're on the D flat, we're moving up for one step. This will be E flat minor, F minor, G flat, A flat, B flat minor, and C diminished. Okay, now those are all the chords in the key of D flat. Now, like I was telling you last week, all these flats, all of them, all 5 of them, are being played in that progression. Say all those are being played. And then we have F in there. Then we have F again and C. And then we have C again. And we have F again. So we have all these black notes plus an F and a C. So we have all these 5 notes in F and C, which are all in that chord. In other words, these are all being played. Now, in the key of C, we learned a minor and all these different. And in the key of D flat, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so that we know what we're doing here. Because remember, in the key of C, we could play a fifth, an augmented fifth, a minor, a diminished, a seventh, a major seventh, and then the eighth, the full chord, and also the ninth. Okay? And we can do the same thing with a D flat, the same way. So if you get confused, you go back to a C and you go, okay, the C had a fifth, which was just one step above the fifth. The seventh major was one step above the sixth, and then the regular seventh was just a half step above the sixth. And then, of course, the eighth of the chord, and then the ninth. Okay, so you can always go back to the C chord to see what numberings you need to refer yourself to figure out where the sixth is. So we have the sixth here, then we have the regular seventh, the major seventh, then we have the ninth. Let's see here. Where's the ninth at? Here. Okay. And you notice everything's up a half a step. Now, what we have to remember, and I find that when I was trying to learn all this, I was really confused trying to figure out how to remember all of this stuff here. There's just too much to be trying to remember, and it's easier to remember numbers. So, if we look at I'll show you the second one that I put up there is explaining and just showing you what the steps are. But in other words, going through I'll go back to C again, going through the steps of the key of C, you're just going to progress up. So you've got the progression. So you've got C, D minor, E minor. Okay? So the first is just the C of the chord. The second is a minor chord. The third is a minor chord. The fourth is not, just F. The fifth is not, it's just G. Now on the sixth of that progression is a minor again. And then the next one is a diminished. So it's B diminished. So all we have to remember, because all of the chords in the major keys, C through B, major keys, are all the same. Just the same as finding a chord was. Okay? So in finding the progression, in other words, this is a progression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to the first thing. So if you wanted to play the C and the F and the G for a three-chord progression, this is where it comes from. C is 1, F is 4, and G is 3. I mean, 5. Let's see. 2. I can't believe it. I do this all the time. Here's 4, 5, 6. Okay, I had it right the first time. Okay, so the chord progression that we've been working with from pretty much day one was C, F, and G. So C is the first, and if you look at that chart up here, all of them are the same on the chart. The 2 and 3 and 6 are the minors. If you look here, they're the minors. And this is diminished. They're the second, the third, the sixth, and are minors, and then the seventh is diminished. And they're all the same. That's why these are in blue and these are minor. Okay, so they're all the same. And the thing is that the common part of this that's the same is up here. See? There's one line here and you've got 8 lines here. So it's a lot easier to remember this line, which is 1 through 7, and then 8 being the full octave. Okay, so we're right back to where we were, just like with C. So we have a D, and we're going to go to the second part, second step, which is 1 full step up. Now you notice we have a minor here, okay? The second and the third are a minor. So we have D, we go up a full step, but it's a minor. Okay, so we go up a full step. In other words, a full step would be, here's the E, flat, and it's a minor. So we play the minor, and then we have a half a step, because now we're going into the half step part. So we got an E minor to an F. Now, we have to also look that, like I showed you on this diagram here, that 2, 3, 6 are all minors, the 7th is diminished, and the 8 is a full octave. Now, when we go up to the 3rd, to the 4th, it's a half step on that progression. So if you look at the black keys, there's 5 of them, and there's a whole bunch of them here, 8. So in other words, say you've got 8 of these, and you've got 5 of these. So we're going to have a half step here between the 3rd and the 4th, and again from the 7th and the 8th. But we don't even have to worry about that, because by doing it this way, it's going to take care of itself. Because here's the first, D flat, the second is a minor, the third's a minor, so we go 1 step up, which is F, and it's a minor. Okay. And then we carry on, and it's a half step up. So we have G sharp, G flat, I mean, and we're going to go to A flat, and then we're going to go to B minor, because the 7th is diminished. In other words, we're going to a B flat minor, and then to a C, diminished, I'm sorry. C's diminished. Okay. So I think I did this wrong. I make mistakes. I get out of oxygen and I write something down, and if I wrote it down wrong when I'm sitting here and trying to tell you to it, oops, whoops. Okay, 1, 2, the 3rd. So the 2 and the 3rd are minor, and the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th is a minor, and the 7th is a diminished, and then we're back to the octave. So I was right. Okay. So now we have a whole new thing to work on. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the key of C. And then with the 9th. Okay. And we just progress up through there, and we can start writing a song. But we've got to use these chords. And we're now up a half a step up higher. So if you've never seen anything like this before, you're totally mixed up at this point. we're doing everything that we were doing with a chord of C, except 1/2 step higher. That's all it is. So, in other words, we're now up on the D flat, key of D flat. So somebody says, hey, everything's in the key of D flat, and the progression is 1, 4, and 5. So just like on C, 1, 4, 5. Okay, on D, on D flat, that would be D flat, G flat, and B. So it'd be just the same as so we're just that way. And what makes it so much easier is that we have all these black ones up here we can screw around with. Okay, so now we're going to start writing a song in the key of D flat. So I'm going to let you work on that for the next week. And whenever you get a little bit confused, just go back to the C progression that we've used. In other words, everything's the same, it's just up a half. But see, I don't want to tell you that everything is just moved up a half. Because when you get up, say, to the key of A flat, okay, it's going to be pretty hard to figure out how many half steps you got to go to get up to that. So what we want to do is now look at the fact that we're doing the same progression. We're going from a D flat, we're moving up one full step, which would be E flat. And then we're minoring it. Okay, and now we're going to move up a full step again. This time it's a F, and that's a minor. Okay, now there's a half step. Remember, there's a half step between the third and the fourth. So we're going from F minor, and here's your half step right here, jumping up. And this is a regular G flat. Then we have an A minor, which is a full step here. And then we have another full step here, but it's a minor. And then we have a full step again to the C, but it's a diminished. Just the same as the key of C was. Okay, so it's as simple as that, and I'm going to keep it right on that. I don't want anything to confuse you, because I want you to work just from remembering the C chord progression and then moving up to the D flat progression. And I want you to practice this just the way we did before.